Hello and welcome back to episode 3 of Clubhouse Miles. My name's George and I'm joined by Rosie today. How are we doing?
Yeah, pretty good. I'm enjoying the new t-shirts that we've got
Yes,
done.
very
These
nice.
are obviously brand new, repping the Clubhouse Miles merch for once. So yeah, it's going to be good. I'm looking forward to this episode actually. We've got quite a few things to discuss, a few races coming up that I'm very much looking forward to. But yeah, how have you been, George?
Yeah, not too bad. I'm racing tonight, but I'll also be racing in the future tonight as well. When this podcast comes out, I'm actually racing tonight.
Oh, I
If that
see.
makes
So
sense.
you're racing tonight on the day of filming
Yeah.
and on the day of release
Yes,
as well. I see.
exactly. 2 5Ks. So I've got a 5K tonight at Battersea Park on the road, and then a 5K on the track next week. And
Nice.
I'm yet to do a session on the track.
Could be something to do this weekend, perhaps.
Yeah. Well, actually, this weekend I want a stag do.
Of course. Well, yes.
So maybe Tuesday I'll do a session on the track and then race on the Friday on the track. That might have to be how it goes.
Maybe. Yeah.
I think it's because basically I've got this ankle problem, right?
Yeah, ankles and the track don't really mix when you've got the continuous bands. It's not
especially
great.
when it's your inside leg.
Yeah,
So it's my left leg that always flares up because I land really weirdly. I'll land and then my ankle just collapses inwards as I'm running around the bends. So tried to fix it, but it's not really fixable. That's why I've been staying on the roads, training on the roads.
yeah. You just got to be careful. Play to your strengths and whatever it is that you can do.
Yeah. Also, I've been ill last week, so
Yes, always rest or illness. It's always the best.
Well, I didn't do that, and
No, exactly.
I
Of course you
raced,
didn't.
and
Of course you
I
didn't.
got worse. So
Funny that, isn't it?
yeah.
Anyway, so looking at today's show, we're going to discuss the London 5000 coming up, which is going to be a really interesting event. I'm excited for that. And then there's been some big Diamond League action recently. So we'll have a bit of a recap about what's going on the circuit out in Europe. And of course, Breaking-4 is happening. So again, at the time of filming, it's happening tomorrow, Thursday, 26th of June, over in Paris. So by the time this is released, it will have happened. We will know the verdict. But I think there are still some really interesting talking points that we can discuss even once we know the verdict in however long it's time until this is released. So,
Sure.
if we get on with the London 5000 then, George,
Yeah.
give us a bit of a brief about what that event is.
Well, apart from this boy attempting to race 16 minutes over the 5K for the first time in his life, well, I'm going to try tonight, but I don't see it happening on the road, but maybe on the track. Hopefully I will be fine by then because I've been a bit ill last week, so as I mentioned. So basically the London 5000 isn't there to replace the night of 10,000 PBs, but it is there to kind of, the way the night of 10K PBs is set up is kind of like a family-friendly event. Whereas I was speaking to the organizer of the London 5000 and he was saying that this event is actually more of like a 18 plus sort of style event. So there'll be like alcohol involved. There's a cocktail bar, I believe they were talking about. They were looking at loads of things last time I spoke to him. But he said the main thing is to try and get as many people as possible smashing their PBs over the 5K distance. And to be doing that on the track is always hard. I always find that running on the road is so much easier because there's so many more people racing on the road. But the track specifically, like you end up turning up to a 5K event and the only people cheering you on is like a man and his dog and stuff. Whereas, or like you just go to like a BMC and there's just no atmosphere. So this event is purely made for runners, up and coming runners, and then obviously the elite runners. And yeah, they're basically going to try and sort of recreate the atmosphere that you get at night at 10K PBs, but just over the 5,000 meters instead.
So it seems to me like it's almost going to be, like you say, not a replacement, but something that's going to try and take a principle and make it its own for the 5,000 meters. And I do think it could be quite exciting, actually. Obviously, there's a lot of students down in London anyway. It's held at the same venue as Night of the 10,000 meters. It's pretty accessible. It's pretty easy to get to, especially from where we are in Teddington. It's pretty straightforward. So hopefully, we'll see lots of good, huge atmosphere there. But briefly looking at my notes and what we've got to come, it is going to be, like you say, a graded race, all culminating in those A races. The A race is going to happen, I presume, at the end of the timetable around 10 o'clock in the evening.
Yep. So yeah, it's usually like very similar to the structure of the night 10Ks. The slower races, like the ones I'm in, are at the start of the evening, and then it kind of reaches a climax with the men's and women's A races.
So in those A races, we've got some pretty big names. So if we look at the men's A race first, Zach Mohammed is in there. Cam Allen's been announced. He's had some really good runs this season already. And Phil Sessman is also down to be on the start list.
It's good to see marathoners stepping down during the summer. That's what I'm doing myself. I'm just obviously not on Phil's level. But then on the women's side, obviously we have Philly Bowden racing the 5K. She had a really good run over the 5K last summer as well.
Yeah, absolutely. At Watford BMC.
Yeah, and then also she had a really good race at the British Championships as well in Manchester. So yeah, it's really good to see these like top tier marathoners stepping down the distance. I know Callie Thackeray as well. I don't think she's down to race the London 5K, but she stepped down for the 10,000 meters, won that. She's also stepped down to the 5K as well, and it'd be interesting to see what she decides to do this summer. Obviously, she's looking at the Tokyo World Championships, but yeah, it's good to see like the big endurance people stepping down to something faster.
It is really interesting to see when you have these athletes that are stepping down from the marathon distance. So Phil Sessman, Philly Bowden, they are so good at that marathon distance, of course. How are they going to fare against people? So in the women's A race, we have Abby Donnelly and India Weir. India Weir's having a fantastic season, just signed with Hoka, for example. How are they going to go up against these marathoners, and how's it going to compare when we go down to a 5K distance? Because realistically, yes, 5,000 metres on the track is quite a way. But when you do compare it to the 42 kilometres of a marathon, that is a very big difference. And there's a lot of different components that are going to go into it. And it's not dissimilar, I guess, from the principle that Grand Slam track were trying to employ with the kind of bringing in a 3K and a 5K to try and get some kind of 15 guys coming up to the 3K as opposed to always going down to the 8. And I think that could be interesting.
Yeah, I think as well, we might as well speak about Grand Slam track whilst we're on the topic, is like they ended up getting rid of the 5K.
Yeah.
Because of scheduling reasons, apparently. I really don't think it was a good idea. I think a lot of their audience has come over from that sprint background.
Yeah.
And now they're calling the 3K, 5K like a long distance, and then they're calling, what were they calling the 15 and the 8? It's like, instead of middle distance, they're calling it the short long distance or something ridiculous.
Like that, yeah.
And like that naming just doesn't make any sense. You might as well just call it what it is. It's middle distance. But then the 3K and the 5K, I think it was great because, everyone was on an even playing field and they were able to make the same amount of money. However, just by removing the 5K, they halved the whole of their money.
Yeah.
So if you're a long distance runner, you're only running 3K. It's kind of like, how do you fix that problem? There's got to be another race in there. And I would like to see perhaps they put a 1500 in there.
Yeah, it would be interesting if they could throw something like that in, because obviously Grand Slam is in its very early days. It's got a long way to go before it becomes something that's kind of established, I think. They've got a lot of money behind them at the moment. And we've discussed the principle before, me and you, George, where we think it has potential, but it's going to need to be refined. It is very interesting to see that the final fixture was supposed to be in LA, wasn't it? And obviously there's been some unrest in LA recently, could have contributed to the decision to cancel that final fixture. However, they released a press release essentially saying, well, Grand Slam track have achieved everything we wanted to achieve this year. And the first thing that sticks out to me with that is, but you're in sport. And since when has any sportsman thought, yeah, I've done everything I need to do this season, so I'm going to stop right here? Sport isn't typically, unless there is you're coming towards the end of retirement or something along those lines, usually a sportsman doesn't tend, or a sports person, I should say, doesn't tend to just stop when they reach their goal. they're hungry individuals. They want to go further and further and further and push on and see what they can do. So it seems a little bit strange to me that Grand Slam track have just kind of gone, yeah, I'm done now.
Yeah, obviously we don't know, so this is me just speculating, but I just feel like it could be financial. I mean, they're splashing a lot of cash on these athletes. They're signing athletes to contracts, so they're getting paid every time they race. Is there something going on behind the scenes that we don't know about? Because just saying, oh, we've achieved everything we wanted to do this year, it just doesn't make sense to me. There's got to be something going on. I doubt we'll ever find out about it. But
yeah, I think you're right. And the other thing that strikes me there is going, well, the spectators are going to be really quite annoyed at that, surely. If I've bought tickets to an event and they say to me, well, I'm cutting a race, when we're minimising time, we're getting rid of day 3 or whatever it was that they changed in the previous fixture, and then we're getting rid of a fixture completely when you'd bought a whole weekend's worth of tickets to see, I'd be really quite annoyed, and that would stop me buying tickets to that event again in the future. So I'm wondering how this is going to impact spectator attendance.
yeah, of course, because they had to refund everyone their day 3 or the day, was it the day 1 tickets?
I think it was day 1. I think it was like a Friday evening session.
So they had to refund all of that for the 5K. They're making it over 2 days, so they're having to refund all of them, and now they're having to refund everyone that books for LA. So that's a ridiculous amount of tickets you're refunding there anyway.
A lot of money going back out of your account and a lot of extra work that you're creating for yourself.
And it would make sense that it could be they've cancelled it because of a financial problem. Because if they're having to refund all these tickets and they've already spent the money, then then they've looked at it and gone, we don't have enough money to put this event on. Because they've got the streaming costs, they've got the camera, the staff, they've got everyone attending, the prize money, which is obviously probably the biggest payout they have to do. Because if you're winning, you're getting, what, 100K?
Yeah, significant amount of money.
Yeah, exactly.
And I do wonder what the consequence of this is going to be. They have openly said, we'll see you again next year. They've agreed new deals for streaming next season. But I wonder how that's going to be feasible. If, like you say, it's a financial issue, which it could well be. It seems quite likely. Of course, that is speculation. We don't know. We are just discussing that as a possibility. But how does that leave them? Where does that leave them going forwards? Because yes, you've agreed all these deals, but if you can't afford it, you still can't afford it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's a great idea. Like, don't get me wrong, there is some great races going on, and it's so cool to see Marco A-Rob in the 15, not perhaps doing it as well, but then in the 8 making such a gap on everyone else and being able to front run pretty much every 800 meter race and pulling away to then take the full slam win that they're calling it. Like, it's great to see these different distances race against each other, and I think it makes it way more easier and accessible for the non-athletics fan to see, oh, this guy can run this over the 800, and oh, there's actually different specialities over different distances.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, well, we spoke about rivalries a little bit in the last episode, didn't we, with Clara Adams and her celebration. And I think it does really help with bringing in that kind of energy. These athletes have something to race for. They've not, and I say just a medal here. Obviously, a medal is the absolute pinnacle of our sport. But money is tangible, and money is something that you can spend, you can live off. Money makes the world go round, and suddenly these guys are racing for big amounts of money, and that's going to ignite these rivalries and these passions in a slightly different way. And obviously they are different prizes, and there is nothing to say that these medals are not worth it. They absolutely are. Any sports person knows how important that is. But money is something that drives every human being, and I think that's going to be really interesting to see how it does play out in the rivalries. And we've seen already with Josh Kerr getting a little bit kind of, like you can see he's playing into that kind of ego role of, like, I've got to big myself up, I've got to get myself ready and really believe in myself to go full pelt in this and take the winnings week in, week out.
Yeah, I have to say, I think the way Josh Kerr conducts himself, he reminds me of like a villain. He's like Grand Sam's villain. You always have like a hero and a villain. And I would say, like, in the 1500, 800, he's the villain. He's like the anti-hero. Because I being British myself, and you as well, you kind of want to root for him.
Yeah.
But he's just recently been so obnoxious that I just don't think I can root for him. So he's my villain. My hero, probably Yared Nuguse.
Yeah, I think...
He's so wholesome.
You know what? I think you have hit the nail on the head there, because Nuguse, everyone loves him. There's no reason not to. I don't think I've ever come across a athletics fan that doesn't like him. But I've come across many that are not the biggest fan of Josh Kerr, and I think that's... it is interesting. But hey, the anti-hero is always someone that you remember. So Josh Kerr is doing a fantastic job of getting his name out there and bringing home the money time and time again. He will be saying, well, I don't care what you think. I'm winning the 100k or taking home the prize money at every competition I do at the moment. And he'll be pleased with that.
Yeah, and he gets clicks as well, doesn't he? So
Absolutely, yeah.
us just talking about him for the second week in a row, or is it third? Have we talked about him 3 times in a row
Possibly,
now?
could well have happened.
I want someone to go back. I'm going to go back and work out how many times we've spoken
We
about
need a Josh Kerr count in the corner. You can go ding, ding, ding.
Yeah.
Time,
how many times have we said the word Josh Kerr?
Yeah, I think that's...
way too many.
And again, that proves the point, doesn't it? It doesn't matter, essentially, like, you're getting your name out there. It goes back to that principle of no press is bad press type of thing. And again, he's doing a brilliant job of getting the publicity, getting the clicks, getting the money. He's having a great time, and he is performing well.
Yeah.
So,
speaking of the men's 1500, and especially in Britain,
yes,
we've got a big boy, George Mills, coming through. Second all time now, behind Josh Kerr, right?
Yes. Yeah, so Josh Kerr holds a British record. Now it is George Mills in second. He's leapfrogged the likes of Coe, Ovett, Cram, some iconic names there. And George Mills, I think he's not someone I had pegged to be there this year. I think when you cast your mind back to Paris almost a year ago now, obviously his Olympics wasn't what he wanted it to be. It didn't go well. He probably won't mind me saying he didn't conduct himself the best either when it went wrong. I think athletics fans, I'm sure you can remember him coming across the line. He tripped. Of course, emotions are high, but yeah, the aftermath of that wasn't ideal on the global stage. And he has said in interviews since he wants to show that performance at the Olympics was a blip, and that's pretty much what he's setting out to do this year.
Yeah, for sure. I think even if you look back before the Paris Olympics, he did get himself in situations where he did fall over. I mean, it happened at the London Diamond League. There was a massive fall there. I think it happened before in like Rome or somewhere like that as well. And maybe, did it happen to him at the European Champs?
That was Rome.
That was Rome.
Yeah.
But there was a Rome Diamond League as well, wasn't there? Or a Florence?
There is often a Rome Diamond League. I'm not sure if the two... I thought he fell at the European Champs in Rome. I don't know about the Diamond League.
Anyway, it doesn't matter. He always it always seemed like his races weren't adding up. Like he was doing really well in the 5K. It's a lot slower, less aggressive at the start. Whereas the 15, you have a lot less laps. He's obviously worked out how to stay in good positions now and not get himself into trouble. Because at the end of the day, if you're tripping and falling, sometimes it's someone else's fault. And he definitely seemed to blame someone at the end of his time at the Paris Olympics. But I think being able to see him come through this year and actually put together some really good performances and then run 3:28 over the 15 is just crazy. And then obviously a few weeks before that, he ran 12.
Yeah, 12:44. That was at the Oslo Bislett Games Diamond League, which is my favourite Diamond League every year. I love it. I think it's brilliant. It's got the best atmosphere. If you ever want to go to a Diamond League in Europe, go to the Bislett Games. It is brilliant. But that's not the point. So over in Oslo, George then ran, 12:44. 6 seconds was taken off Mo Farah's previous best. That is a big chunk. 6 seconds is a lot to take off a national record. So I was very impressed. I was shocked. And then obviously there comes the debate about, well, the tracks are newer, they're more updated, they've got better technology. The shoes are newer with different technology. And whilst true, yes, it does make me wonder where George Mills is going this season, because that is still, like I say, a significant chunk. 6 seconds is a big improvement. And then to back that up second on the all-time list with the 15, that is pretty significant.
Yeah, for sure. And all it seems to me is, where do you go from here? Like, he's still got the world champs at the end of the year. He's probably going to double, let's be honest. He did it in Paris. I wouldn't necessarily, like, judging on his performance last year, I wouldn't have put him in both. But then seeing him this year, it's a whole different kettle of fish, and putting him in both is probably what British athletics are going to do.
Yeah, I think it's likely because, again, it links back, I suppose, to that righting the wrongs of Paris. Paris showed us that perhaps he shouldn't have doubled. It didn't go to plan. It wasn't his champs in Paris. It just wasn't his Olympic Games. It wasn't what he wanted it to be. And that's how sport goes sometimes. But I think, like he said, he is out to prove that Paris was that blip. People are not, like, he doesn't want people to judge him purely on that. And obviously they will. It was the Olympic Games. That's where it matters. And it is a natural thing for you to judge an athlete on their ability to perform on the biggest stage, because that's why they do it. So for him to be going out and to be kind of trying to right those wrongs now is very respectable from him. And in an interview following his, I believe it was his 1500m run, he basically said it's all about his consistency. He's got some fantastic consistency both in his training and in his team behind him at the moment, but there are no sacrifices that he's made. He doesn't see any of the classic kind of sacrifices. He doesn't see it as such because this is what he wants to do. This is everything to him, and he is completely and utterly focused. So he could well be coming off of, perhaps a subpar Olympic Games last year into the World Champs this year, carry that over, fuel for the fire, and maybe we see something really special from him. Or maybe we see that he's had a great first half of the season and has perhaps peaked a little bit too early.
Yeah, I mean, I see him probably, now he's run those 2 times, probably maybe taking a step back from racing for a bit, just so that he can peak again for those World Championships. I don't know what list he's down on for racing and stuff, but I can see that possibly being the case because he's so laser focused on when he's racing, how he's preparing for races and stuff like that. And I think you've just run 2 amazing times. It's probably good to step back, refocus, get some good training under you, and then ready to go again probably.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's probably the most likely or the most sensible way for him to approach this now. Obviously, Tokyo is in September. It's quite a long way away. We've got a good few months until then, and athletes will be needing to time their seasons in the best possible way for that. So, yeah, hopefully we'll see something good from him in Tokyo, and I will be very intrigued to see how that goes, and also to see if he can then rise to the occasion of it being a championships again. There are athletes speak about it all the time. Champs are different. It's not going out on the circuit racing. It's not going out around Europe, like hitting the Diamond Leagues, hitting a fast 5,000 or one of the on-track nights or anything like that. A championships is special, and you can see actually a lot of the athletes at the moment are hopping around the Diamond League circuit. These Diamond Leagues, especially the last couple of weeks, we've had Stockholm and Rome and Oslo all very close together. Oslo and Stockholm especially, within a few days of each other. And athletes have hopped from one to the other to mimic kind of a semi-final. A lot of them are in their interviews saying, well, my coach told me to approach this like a championship semi-final. And I think it's because we don't have another major championships this year. It is just Tokyo at the end of the year, aside from the national championships happening later in the summer. And athletes don't get that opportunity to go back to back to back in heats, semis and finals. And that is something that is a skill. And I'll be interested to see if George Mills and everybody else, how they deal with that adjustment of not having done it in the season. What have they done to prepare, and can they rise to the occasion? Because it does add pressure. It does make it a very different racing experience.
Yeah, for sure. And I think we have to look at, speaking of record breaking, we have to look at Mondo Duplantis's.
We do.
6:28 over the pole vault in his home country, in Stockholm. It was great to see. It was just a huge vault, and you see him running across, always kissing his wife straight after.
Yeah, you don't get much better than that, do you? A world record on home turf with everybody there that you want there. Like that's pretty special. First attempt as well. Normally when Mondo goes for a world record, his first attempt, we know that he's got it in him. We always know when he goes for a world record that he has the capability. It's just whether or not he will on this occasion. And usually we see his first maybe second attempt as a bit of a sighter for him as he goes down the runway. And he kind of gets it, kind of pops up on his pole and goes, not quite. And he goes and adjusts, and then his second attempt is usually much, much better. But this one, he had it. He was there straight away. First attempt, popped over it like it was nothing. And he does improve his world record a centimetre at a time. And I think that in itself is a fantastic little strategy for him, because every centimetre, or every time he breaks the world record, he gets a nice little payout, so he can break it time and time again. It makes more financial sense for him to break it 1 centimetre at a time than it does for him to break it once by 5 centimetres, for example. So I think Mondo has absolutely got it down. He has the art of performing, doesn't he? He knows, like we say about the big occasions, he knows how to rise to them, whether it be a world record opportunity in your home stadium or a World Championships or an Olympic Games. But I think, almost needless to say, it's only a matter of time until we see 6:30.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it begs the question, like, is he the richest athlete of all time in track and field? Like, he's getting all these payouts every time he breaks a world record. All he needs to do is add a centimetre on. And then he was on the front cover of Vogue when he announced his engagement. He's got a huge social media following. I didn't even know this, but he was born American.
Yeah.
But claimed Sweden as his home nation. And then it was only last year that he actually started speaking fluent Swedish, because his now wife is Swedish. And it's crazy to see that. So not only has he been vaulting since he was 4 years old, but he's now world record breaker continuously. He's only still very young. I didn't realise that he's literally my age. He's literally just about to turn 25, which is just insane. And it's like, it can only get better from here. Like,
yeah.
you only meet your like athletics peak when you're like 28, 29 nowadays. And he's still got so many years ahead of him. I just can't wait to see how far he goes.
Yeah, it's needless to say that he's going to be around for a while, barring any injuries. Of course, sport is unpredictable. We hope that would never occur. But the longevity of his career should be pretty impressive. And I think you're right. He's going to be one of the richest, if not the richest, athlete in track and field. Because he's got it all nailed down, hasn't he? Breaking the world record a centimetre at a time, getting the clicks on social media, having that following. When you've got Vogue on side, you know you've absolutely won at life. Like, Mondo Duplantis has got it down. And yeah, like you say, George, he's your age, and he's going to be around for a while. So I can't wait to see what else he does. Hopefully we'll see him up near 6:35 soon.
Yeah, some days it really makes me want to go back in time and tell 4-year-old George to start running or start doing some form of exercise, because starting late just puts you at a big disadvantage. And I know now that there's no way I'm making it to the Olympics unless I'm there being a journalist. So
you never know. We can hope.
Yeah.
LA 2028 would be fantastic if we
get
could
Clubhouse Miles on the list.
In the mix zone.
Yeah,
that would be pretty cool. We'll have to give it a shot.
Yeah, we've just got every week. Just keep bringing out some social media stuff, and then hopefully eventually one day
we do need these lot to subscribe to the channel though if we're going to make that happen.
Yeah, so whilst we're talking about that, like and subscribe now, and you might be able to follow us all the way to 2028. God,
that would be pretty cool, wouldn't it?
3 years time.
Hey,
will
never
we
say
still
never.
be sat here?
Yeah. Anyway.
Oh God.
Anyway, moving on then, we're going to look now. We've discussed Grand Slam track a little bit. My next big talking point for us, George, is going to be Faith Kipyegon. And again, so time of filming, her Breaking-4 attempt is tomorrow. When this is released, it will be a few days old by then. We'll know the outcome when this is released. Going out on the 4th of July, I think. So happy 4th of July if any Americans are watching. But yes, so we will know the outcome by the time this airs. But I think it is a really interesting subject to cover, because obviously a few years ago we had Kipchoge and his 1:59 project, and now we have Breaking-4 with Faith Kipyegon.
Yeah, so speaking of Kipchoge's one, obviously a few years before his Breaking-2, there was another Breaking-2 that aired on Netflix. It didn't happen. Yeah. And I have a feeling that it might not happen first go around. I feel like, yes, the shoe market and everything like that has definitely improved by vast majorities recently compared to back then. But I still think breaking 4 minutes. I mean, she's got to knock off 8 seconds off of her PB. And I do love, though, the media coverage around the whole thing. I mean, I'm not sure about you, but I've just watched the Breaking-4, the first episode of that, and it is really cool to see how many paces that she's going to have on this track. They're going to be peeling on and off, creating a significant way for her to not get any drag from the wind. She's basically going to be slipstream the whole way. So it's really going to be interesting to see how that works on the track in comparison to the road, because on the road they had a car in front with a laser and they had this all working around. I'd like to see what they're going to use in on the track in Paris. Obviously they've chosen the track in Paris because of how good the climate is there, how good they can kind of control everything, and because of the size of the stadium, it actually protects them from the wind quite a lot. And when you're trying to run 8 seconds faster than any woman has ever run over the mile, is such a massive thing. But also she's doing it with male pacers, not just all female. So she does have female pacers. Georgia Bell, I believe, is involved in the project. But she is also doing it with male pacers. This means that I think it won't actually work as like a world record because of the so controlled conditions, just like the Kipchoge one. Yes, he did run sub-2, but no one has ever done that in a normal race since.
So that brings me to my next point, George, is obviously it's fantastic to see us trying to break these barriers. Breaking 2 and Kipchoge going 1:59 was phenomenal, and we can do it. We know we can do it. But no one's done it since, and it just... Are we making it too artificial for these attempts? Do we need to be pushing it this far? Obviously, Kipyegon has special spikes being designed. She's got a special speed suit, a special sports bra, special pacers. Like you say, the venue in Paris, where she broke the world record for the 1500 metres last year as well. Are we making it too artificial in the sense of, yes, we know we can do it, but are we creating almost another psychological barrier of we can only do it under those conditions? We can only do it if everything is perfect.
I don't think so. And I'm gonna use the marathon as an example. So not too many years ago, obviously Kipchoge ran 1:59. 1 or 2 years ago, Kelvin Kipton, before his untimely death, at the age of 22 or 21, he ran sub 2:01, which is the fastest that any man has ever run over the marathon. And I think perhaps maybe Kipyegon, she's getting on now. She's in her 30s.
Yeah.
To be able to do it could inspire the next person to come along and actually do it in a race. I think it's a bit like when I broke 20 minutes over the 5K for the first time. I saw that barrier so mental. It was such a big barrier in my head that I thought I'd never break it. As soon as you break it, you believe in yourself, and then the second time you run the 5K, you run even faster than that.
Yeah.
And then times keep falling as you go on. But the big 20-minute barrier always, and especially in the 10K as well, like the 40-minute barrier, those two barriers seem massive to everyone.
Absolutely.
And then as soon as you break them, you actually realise that the possibilities are endless, and you can keep getting faster and faster. And obviously, this week and next week, I'm going to try and break 16. It might not happen, but if it does, then I'll be able to move on even more.
Well, we saw that principle, didn't we? I suppose if we look back into athletics history with Roger Bannister, Breaking-4 there, he was the first person to go underneath the 4-minute mile, and then opened the floodgates, and a lot of people did it. But is that because he did it in a race, and they know that they can do it in a race, whereas this is pacers and shoes and kit and everything is... Everybody else is going to look at what Kipyegon has here and go, well, I don't have that. And do you think that's going to be a subconscious psychological barrier? Because it's not usually the attitude that a sports person would go into anything with. It's not typically how the mindset works. But do you think it's going to be a subconscious niggling of going, well, my vest isn't as quick as her speed suit, or something along those lines?
Yeah, I think there is obviously technological barriers. And I think as well, the shoes, we now have regulations around the shoes. So those shoes might not even be competition worthy.
Yeah, they have been. So Nike missed the deadline to submit them. Of course, it couldn't be a world record anyway because of the paces and everything like that. So it didn't matter that they missed the deadline. But the deadline to submit the shoes for World Athletics approval was missed before the shoes were finished in their kind of development. So the shoes also are illegal and are, I believe, will be submitted once they have been finalised, which I guess by now they will have been, to see if they will be legal going forward. So potentially it could then open the door for these technological additions. She knows this is an absolutely huge thing for her to be attempting. However, I've got to say, they wouldn't be pumping the money into this if they didn't have some sort of belief, if she didn't know that she could do this. And of course, that's a different story of everything going right on the night. There's a lot of moving factors to this, moving kind of components that could go wrong or go right on the day, and they all need to go exactly how they have to for this to go right. So if all of those components do fit together and go swimmingly, I do think the potential is there, because I don't think she would submit herself to it without knowing that.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's great. The media around it is doing so great, and obviously they're going to be making money from it. They're not going to be losing any money.
Of course.
And being able to see it, I was actually looking. It's free to go watch it in Paris.
Yeah.
Which is crazy. They're also making it such a big thing, and I think just knowing how well everyone turned out at Paris itself for the Olympics, they're still generating that buzz around that stadium, and being able to bring more of the Parisians and the locals that live there. It's going to be definitely a huge event, and there's going to be tons of people there that I don't see it not becoming a world record in terms of, like, she's going to get close. It's just whether she breaks that 4.
Yeah.
It's a huge thing for anyone to even break 4. I think with men, it's kind of become normalised, but a really good time for a man is like 350, like in the 350 still. It's actually not like that much like off of the off Roger Bannister's record, really, for like the average like professional runner. So being able to do that is like, it's going to be crazy. But yeah, I want to see her set a barrier that needs to be broken perhaps in the future, or she's going to give it another go next year.
Yeah, fingers crossed. I think that pretty much sums it all up for today, George. We have been once again in Up and Running Teddington, so if you haven't been down here yet, do come and give it a visit. Up and Running Teddington is a fantastic store. It's got so many different options for you to come and try on, both in shoes and kit. So do pop in, try it out, speak to the staff. They are very helpful, very, very knowledgeable about all the different types of trainers that you could possibly need for whether it be track work, speed work, marathons, steady running. They have it all and more. So definitely pop in at some point. And there is, of course, that social run group every Tuesday at 6:30. So if you want someone to run with on Tuesdays, come along. It's 5k around Bushy Park, and then they have partnered with the Abercorn, which is a pub down the road, for a free pint afterwards. So it sounds like a great Tuesday evening to me.
Yeah, sounds good. If I wasn't racing, I'd definitely be turning up.
Yeah.
Having a few beers. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching again. Make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks.